Hi guys, Lucy aka the Watchbox Diaries here. Welcome to my channel. Now today's video, I'm going to be talking about a brand that I haven't really had a lot to do with, and I think this is the first time I've ever reviewed one on this channel. For some reason, it's just not been a brand that's been on my radar. It is, of course, Nomos. You would have known from the title. When Nomos got in touch and asked if I wanted to get hands-on with one of their new releases, the Tangent? Why do I always struggle with pronunciations? Hold on.
A few moments later.
The Tangente! I obviously had to say yes. They released a whopping 31 colourways earlier this year at Watches and Wonders, which I thought was just way too many. And the 31 being an odd number just kind of messed with my brain. 31 because that is the maximum amount of days per month you can get, which I do understand. However, me being the weirdo that I also am, noticed that they released them in April, which only has 30 days. So yeah, that kind of further messed with my brain. And yes, I do realise that I'm a little bit weird. You guys should know that by now anyway. Getting hands-on has put this brand on my radar, but what about the watch? Let's whiz through specifications. So stainless steel, 37.5 millimeters, which as another, I'm gonna call them Lucyisms, weirded me out and messed with my brain because they called it the Tangente 38, even though it's a 37.5 millimeter watch. It's got a height of 6.8 millimeters and a lug to lug of 47.7 millimeters, which is something I will circle back to later in this video. The watch comes with a pretty standard 30 meters water resistance, so splash proof essentially. It uses the DUW 4101 manual wind movement, which is actually built in-house, which is pretty cute. They are a limited edition. There are only 175 of each for their anniversary, and they are priced at 1,925 Great British pounds. So as much as the 31 number messed with my head, I do really like that they've given us so many colorway options, and the options themselves are really nice. There's a really wide range of variety. So if you wanted something a bit simpler, there's an option. If you wanted something really fun and bright and jazzy, there's an option. If you wanted something in between, again, there's an option. I got hands-on with the Chili and the Pastel. Both I really appreciated, and I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of the pink dial. I do have a Grand Seiko, but that's super pale, okay? Doesn't quite count. But I do think pink is in, and the Chili surprised me, to be fair. It is a bold shade, but it's just bright and fun, and not like a super Barbie pink. It's kind of like a cool pink, if that makes any sense. Out of the two, I did prefer the pastel shade. It's much more muted, much more subtle, and yeah, just kind of spoke to me. I prefer that pale vibe again, based on my Grand Seiko preference. So when you've got really bold colorways going on, legibility can be a real issue. So one of the things that I really love about this is the actual dial design itself has been kept super simple, and I really appreciate it. The sub-seconds, fan. The chapter ring colour, fan. The typography, fan. Simple hands, fan. Simple case design, fan. Date placement, fan. Basically, I'm a big fan of this whole dial design. You should know by now, I'm also a fan of an open case back, so I love that display. I also love that they have kept a lot of the details that some watch brands put on the front of the dial on the back of the dial, so that I'm not reading a full book on the front, but the information is there should I want it. I just love looking at watch movements. Obviously, the more complicated, the better, but even a simple movement, I just find fascinating. So again, you've probably guessed it, I'm a fan. So my biggest gripe with this watch is gonna have to be the lugs. 37.5 millimeters on paper sounds perfect. I've said it before, 36 to 40, but like that 36 to 38 mark is probably the sweetest spot. But because of the lugs, it wears bigger. Lug to lug is 47.7 millimeters, which due to that lug design, they just don't curve around my wrists as much as I kind of need them to. I actually struggle with a lot of Longines for a very similar reason. The lug design is cool, but because they're straight on the top, it just adds to that look of it being bigger. And then on top of that, the dial to bezel ratio, which is basically just dial, adds even more to the aesthetic of it wearing bigger to the eye. I think if they were curved down a bit more, it would have the same visual effect, but it would probably wear a lot better. So my second gripe is kind of a surprise from a brand like Nomos and at this price range, and that is that it doesn't have a quick set date. If you guys are anything like me, I would just find it a bit too much effort. Unless there's a few days in it, I would just not have my date set to the right date and just accept it, because otherwise it's just way too much effort. I'm really glad I managed to get hands on with some Nomos. Nomai? What's the plural of Nomos? I don't know. Anyway, I managed to get hands on with them and they are now firmly on my radar. I have an appreciation for them. I know there are a lot of diehard fans out there and they are a firm favourite within the community. I want to know why, because I am now intrigued. I'd like to know a bit more about the brand. And if there's a specific one that you think that'll make Lucy fall in love with Nomos, then let me know in the comments. There were only 2 gripes for me about this watch. I had a lot of fun with it. I love the colourways, but personally, I wouldn't buy one purely because of the way that it sat on my wrist. EB risk committee member, and if they had just curved them down a little bit more, I think it may have been a different story. If you have a bigger wrist or you don't mind the lugs, obviously go for it, because I really liked the rest of the watch. Also, I couldn't get one because I could never choose the colourway because I like so many of them and I cannot afford 31 watches. Gonna end this on a little bit of trivia. So tangente actually means a line that touches a curve but does not cut it, which is a maths term. So if you're into that, here's a nice little connection for you. That is it. That is my Nomos Tangente, love that I can say it now, review done. As always, let me know what you thought about my opinion, what you think about this watch. If you have any viewpoints on the brand itself, let me know everything in the comments section below. Hopefully, if you've made it this far, you have actually enjoyed my horological ramblings. So if you want to support the channel, do the YouTubey things for me. Make sure you've given it a like, you've commented, and you're subscribed to the channel, obviously. And if you want YouTube to notify you of my upcoming videos, all you gotta do is click the little bell and it will do its thing. Until next time though, bye.